Foo Fighters frontman Dave Grohl talks about wanting to stop touring. Plus, Marilyn Manson says he actually turned down Dave's offer to use his throne. And Ozzy Osbourne gives an update on his ability to tour. Got a lot to get to today. Stick with us.
Rock Feed needs you to subscribe right now with notifications on so that we may enjoy a plethora of subscribers. Say 1 million perhaps? No? Yes.
You heard the man. Hit that button. It only takes a few seconds. All right, before we get to this story about Dave Grohl wanting to get out of music, let's first talk about Marilyn Manson, who, as you know, was famously injured a couple years ago on stage where a giant stage prop fell on him while he was performing, which led to him to be injured and hospitalized. And he did a new interview with NME promoting his new album that just came out called We Are Chaos. And he talked about how Dave Grohl actually reached out to him and offered his throne to him. We know that multiple other musicians have used that throne when they've been injured, and it was Manson's turn, but he actually said no to it. Speaking about the accident, which happened back in 2017, and that stage prop fell on him. It happened at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York. And he says, the prop started to fall and I tried to push back and I didn't get out of the way in time. I'm not sure what I hit my head on, but I did fall on my leg and break the fibula in 2 places. The pain was excruciating. He says, so I've got 10 titanium pins on my leg right here. 10 just goes from here to there, and they're still there. They're going to be there forever, but I had to do a 1.5 years of rehab while on tour. I did a tour with it. Then Dave Grohl and Axl Rose graciously offered their chairs, and I said no. I found this electric wheelchair that rose up, and I tried to make it into part of the show, and it was not a fun time at all, but it doesn't bother me now. It actually is more of a bionic leg, and it doesn't go off at airports either, which is strange. If anyone's heavy metal, it's my leg. It's full of heavy metal. He says that he avoided using painkillers as well. He says, I didn't take them. I mean, I did initially while I was in the hospital, so in the operation, but being that I had taken them in the past, which increased it to recreational use, I didn't want to fall prey to that, so I just didn't do it. I mean, it hurts, but once your pain receptors in your brain, it changes the way you think. All of your cortisol, the dopamine, everything in your brain, it changes. Glad to hear that Marilyn's on the mend. Again, his new album, We Are Chaos, is out now everywhere. Let's move on and talk about Ozzy Osbourne, who is talking about his plans to get back on the road. We know during the pandemic, it's a very shaky timeline for when big artists like Ozzy can start performing again. We know it's going to happen, and it'll probably happen next year. But again, the timelines are very shaky. There is a lot of good information coming out about the vaccines that are being released, and that is pretty much what is banking on live entertainment being able to come back. It looks like that's going to happen sooner rather than later. There's a lot of hope that shows will be back again sooner rather than later. So Ozzy was interviewed on the Blizzard of Oz special, the 40th anniversary of Blizzard of Oz, and he is talking about how he's doing. He's talking about his current state with health. And during that interview, he gave an update on his health, and he was also asked about his influence as obviously a rock legend. He says, I never really thought about it. I'm just Ozzy. My wife calls me Ozzy. I'm just Ozzy. I'm just here. The only good thing about this pandemic, I couldn't work anyway because of my injuries. I'm hoping that I'll be looking 2022, I think, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to get in shape until the end of next year. I think this winter is going to be bad because you're going to have the flu. People are like, I'm not taking the flu shot. You know what? You can give me anything, but I'm not going to be number one on that new vaccine. I don't know. I don't want to be the first in the path and just get set and wake up with a set of antlers in the morning. And again, Ozzy's saying he's not back to 100%, but he does hope to be somewhere in that range when he hits the stage, and he thinks it's going to be in 2022. And back to Dave Grohl now. This was supposed to be a very big year for the Foo Fighters. They were supposed to do an anniversary tour for the 25th anniversary of the band. They had a lot planned. They were supposed to drop a new record. All of that is tentatively on hiatus, and we don't know when that's going to return. But what we do know is that Dave Grohl doesn't do well when he's off the road. At least he's saying that the longer he's off the road, the more he becomes acclimated to home life, and he doesn't want to go back out on the road. And he spoke to AC/DC's Brian Johnson for a new documentary, and he talked about this issue of touring and how he almost always says that he doesn't want to tour anymore after he hits the road. He said, "It's kind of a running joke with everyone in my life where after I've been on the road for a year and a half, I come home from tour and say, I'm never doing that again. That's it. That's the last time. Never, ever again. I'm going to take 2 years off." And all my friends say, "Bullshit. There's no way." And he says, but it seems Grohl's friends are always proved right, with the singer admitting he's always keen to returning to the studio after a short break. He says, "After a month and a half, I've got my guitar in my lap and I'm writing songs, and I call the guys and say, let's make another record every time." All right, and it's Friday, so occasionally I like to talk about new music that I'm listening to when I have time and shout out some artists that I truly like. I get nothing in return for shouting out these artists. These are artists that I truly listen to and I enjoy. One of the albums that I wanted to point out right now is from a band that I recently came to learn about, and it's called Smash Into Pieces, and they have an album called Arcadia, and this record is basically like if hard rock and EDM intersected. They're from Sweden. There's a lot of European influences on it, but it's actually very heavy. So if you like EDM and you like hard rock, you're definitely going to like this new album, Arcadia, from the band Smash Into Pieces. It's out now everywhere. Also, I've got an interview coming up with the members of Stillwell, and just because I interview somebody doesn't mean that I necessarily like to have to like the music, but I do like the music. This band Stillwell features Fieldy from Korn, who's going to be on the show, Wov from POD, and they got a great frontman, Q Unique, as well, and the album is great. The album's called Supernatural Miracle, and it's out everywhere now. What else am I listening to? I'm listening to the new Seether record. Again, I've mentioned this before. If you haven't listened to the new Seether record, you should. I'm really into that sort of post-grunge sound that they have. It's just, you could tell he's heavily influenced by Nirvana, and they do it very well on this record. It sounds fantastic, highly recommend it, and I've been digging into their back catalog. Brings a lot of great nostalgia back from that time. So definitely been jamming a lot of Seether lately. All right, folks, that's all for now. Thanks so much for joining us today and every day at Rockfeed. Again, if you're new here, please subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on breaking news and updates.